in Canada, we're in it's an old saying I heard a few years ago. We're in a race to become second. Everyone wants new technology, but they don't want to be the first one to do it.
Welcome to episode 35 of the Crownsman podcast. Thank you for joining us again 35 times. I hope you've watched 35 of our episodes. If anybody has, though, please let us know, because that would be awesome if you watched every single episode. Honestly, I haven't watched every single episode.
Really?
No.
Wow.
I know what was said. So we're going to talk today about, again, one of the favorite topics, mining equipment, but we're going to gear it towards energy efficiency, innovation, and the company. We have Gekko, a representative from Gekko, Greg Rasmussen, in today. And he's going to be talking. Gekko does an interesting thing where they actually work with universities to develop innovative ideas and equipment. And I haven't dug into that off camera with him, so I'm gonna question him, drill him on that. But it's very interesting what Gekko does, and so I'm really looking forward to this. I'm your host, Jared Downey, co-host Gowdy Molina.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. I feel like I might be losing my voice, so.
Oh,
so it's not good.
You've got a whole section of questions for him.
I know. So
rest, just rest. But before you rest, you have to thank our sponsors.
Yes, thank you to all our sponsors. No, let's do our little plug-ins here.
Oh yeah, I can hear you got a little bit of a whiskey
yeah,
voice
I do. So hopefully I'm good throughout the whole. No, this is water. Okay, so we will start off with Savanaugh Equipment. If you need everything from slurry pumps to jaw crushers to ball mills to conveyors, go to the leader in used mining equipment. And you can visit them at savanaughEquipment.com, where you will find more equipment every day. Also, we have rolled out our new Crownsman specials, and we've already had DRA Global and Savanaugh Equipment do their own little specials promoting their company, their projects, also their products, some of their equipment and that. So you definitely have to check that out, all on our YouTube channel. Subscribe. If you want to promote your company or specific projects or products, services as well, please email us, info@crownsman.com, or visit our website, crownsman.com.
Great.
Awesome.
We'll thank some more of our sponsors later on in the show.
Yep.
Greg, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me here.
It was you were in the top 3 easiest guests ever to book.
That's good to hear.
It was a message, I think, on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Hey, we do a show. Do you want to come on? You said, yeah, I'm in Australia right now. I'll be back next week, and let's pick a date. That was basically it. So you move quick.
Oh, definitely. You have to in mining, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I want to just, Gekko is that an Australian-based company?
Yeah, they're based in Ballarat, Australia. It's about an hour and a half north of Melbourne.
Right. But pretty strong presence here in Canada and the U.S., right?
We're very strong in Canada and the U.S. We're getting bigger in Mexico and South America as well. But yeah, we've been in Canada here now for almost 17 years.
Yeah. When I went on the website to sort of just check it out in preparation for it, there's a lot of sections on the website of what Gekko offers. So could you sort of clarify? I mean, of course, people can go on the website and sort of look for themselves. People in the mining industry will understand it. But if you're just sort of from outside looking in, what is Gekko?
Well, Gekko is one of the few suppliers that's vertically integrated. We basically supply mining equipment, basically modular, low energy efficiency, basically for mining companies. Focus on gold mainly, was original. We also go away from doing laboratory test work to doing engineering studies, equipment supply. So we can basically be a one-stop shop, go through all the project for basically initial test work to final supply and construction.
Right.
But it's more focused on being innovative. What does the industry need? How do we improve the industry? And also basically how do we make it more efficient in terms of the process plant? like more energy efficient. What can we take out?
Right.
What do we need to do to make it more energy efficient? And that's been our focus since day one.
Right. So are you, and you said when you say modular, is there sort of a cap of how large and well, you said you'd already do the test, you'll do the testing plant, right?
Yep.
So is there sort of a cap on the modulars of how large you'll go on the size of a modular?
Our standard plant is about 50 tons per hour. We've done up to 100 tons per hour. We're designing 200 tons per hour. So it's just we're not going to be competing with the 1,000 ton per day plants or 1,000 ton per hour plants. That's out of our scope. Our scope's more of the small, mid-sized companies in terms of plant-wise.
Yeah. I'm always curious about the modular because it's been coming up. It came up with DRA Global. It's sort of getting sprinkled through a lot of any of the mining shows. It seems to sort of pop its head up with it modular. And this is not. I mean, it's not new. It's been around for how many years have they been doing the modular?
For Gekko, over 20 years now.
For 20 years, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's become is it becoming more commonplace now? Are you seeing or
It's becoming more complex at even higher levels, like larger plants. You look at all our large competitors we have; they're making modular construction for their equipment they supply. But it is big because it's something. Probably the largest cost of an operation is your startup costs.
yeah? You were saying there was one that's about a year and so it would have taken a year and a half instead of 6 months.
Well, quite often, yeah, we're basically looking at if you start a new plant up, it could be by the time your startup equipment gets there, it'll be there in pieces as it comes in,
Right.
and it can take a year, 18 months to get the plant actually ready for commissioning. Where if you do modular, it's like with Gekko, we do the whole plant is fabricated, put together, installed, and tested in Ballarat. And it's put in containers. There's a picture there shows.
Actually, yeah, I want to show it because we have talked about it on the show. We haven't really brought up images for people that, and these pop up on the screen
Yeah.
later and that. So we'll look over here on it.
But
So is that a whole plant in all those containers?
That's the whole plant, all the containers.
Damn.
It was ordered basically August one year, and it was on site August next year, 1 year later.
On site and then getting set up, or
And again, set up. So we started, it arrived at site, or started construction in September, and by February, they get first gold. And so basically, or our guys' logistics is important, is loading on the ship and loading off in a certain order. So your first container is the first container goes in the plant. It's got to be a certain order.
Oh, right.
Really?
And so we plan that we basically read from when it leaves our shop to go to the site.
Yeah.
And as it comes in, it's basically all set. You put a unit down, next one down, almost like a plug and play, and hook it up
Yeah.
and set up. So your construction is a lot quicker. You don't have to hook the pipes up, the instrumentation. You check the communication as you go along, but it's already been factory tested.
Right.
And so it makes it much quicker. And in terms of like by December, they were starting to commission the plant. So within 4 months, the plant's ready for commissioning. And that's, so it makes a big difference.
Right.
And for remote sites like this one here, Hope Bay, it's up in Nunavut. And so there's no roads in there. The ships can get there for a small period, about a 4-week period once a year.
Wow.
And so logistics, we had to have stuff in that gap ready to go. But when if you're trying to deliver a large plant from different suppliers all over the place, that's just a nightmare to make it work.
Yeah.
And so it's all ready commissioned, ready to go. You see all the containers there.
Yeah.
Everything's inside the container, just basically put in place, put it, the higher pieces back on, and away you go.
Yeah.
And so it's like we did that with all the sub-suppliers. Gekko didn't supply all the plant ourselves.
Right.
Basically, like the crushers, the grinding mills, the filter presses, were all through partners.
Yeah.
And they came together and basically helped us put this in a modular format.
Right.
And it made it much quicker and easier for the end user.
Do we have any pictures of sort of what that, like any of them being shipped or opened up or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, if you go one top left there,
The yellow?
yeah,
Oops.
that's the same plant after it's been taken out. And as you see up the center, there's the yellow containers of Gekko.
Yeah.
That's all the MCC rooms. So the MCC rooms are shipped up there ahead of time.
Oh, I see.
And so the wiring's all already done. And all that equipment there, like the 2 lines there, that's intensive leach reactors, continuous. Bottom left is where that's a batch ILR. And then the ball mill down there. So it's all packaged up, ready to go. And so this is just putting it together.
So in comparison, so that same plant, if you were, because it seems, again, if you're from the outside looking in, if I'm building if it's in Australia and I'm putting the pieces together as they're coming in, there's a huge amount of organization that happens on your end. But in comparison, you'd actually be a standard, well, not a standard because a lot of people aren't doing it that way, but the other way of doing it is you go to 20 different suppliers. Basically, an engineering firm has to piece all this together, and then this one's not coming for 3 months, but this one's, they've actually had one that the order got canceled, so it's coming in a month early and all that sort of stuff. Whereas this is, it's a big part of it must just be the organization of it coming in as it's supposed to come in.
Well, and it's the same idea when we have, because we're using sub-suppliers, is basically is making sure they fit the schedule. Because the ship left Melbourne.
Oh, we got a little issue going on.
Sorry.
The ship left Melbourne and basically had to stop a couple stops to pick up the equipment from other suppliers. And so the communication, it was the same idea what engineering firm has to do for it. But we work with the guys to make it all modular. So we try to get all the equipment shipped to Ballarat and modularize it.
Oh, I see.
And the larger equipment, like we can do full plants, we'll do a test assembly and take it apart. It'd be like, then after it's almost like, I guess, a box mechano.
Yeah.
You put it together as per the instructions.
Right. Is there where's the savings? Is it the cost of the equipment itself, or is it that you're actually getting into production sooner?
It's getting in production sooner. Like the cost of equipment, we're pretty good at savings, but that's not the biggest savings of the plant.
No, because equipment is still equipment.
Yeah, because one of your biggest costs is basically as you start up in your installation costs. Imagine I have a whole crew on site for a year and a half just to install equipment.
Yeah.
Well, that's all ready ahead of time. So like this site, we reduced from, say a year to 4 months for installation.
Yeah.
That's a big savings for the customer.
Huge, yeah.
It's the interesting part is a lot of customers are used to how long it takes. And so they think, well, we're starting here, construction. I've got this amount of time to get my crew ready. And you get up to here, you only got 4 months.
Right.
So it's a bit of a change of scope for the owners too.
Yeah.
But you reduce that cost, you reduce the variability, because we have the wrong instrumentation here, something's hooked up right, or the wrong pipes.
Because this has already all been tested.
It's already tested. It's put together in the containers.
Right. Yeah.
And then on site in Ballarat, we actually will fabricate the whole container. And there's some parts that are above the container. That's all put together, tested.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works. Take it apart, put it in there. So it's all done in a structure.
Yeah.
And the customer can actually come and be part of the process.
Right.
And watch what we're doing, how things are run and everything.
Yeah.
And so it's not like it's a black box until you get there.
Yeah. Do most people come? Most people must come to the site.
Yeah.
And check it out.
Yeah. For this site, they actually had a person on site in our office the whole time.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, I guess we're talking millions of dollars. So.
Yeah, it's lots of money, and they understand the process more. They interact with their people. All our process engineers, mechanical, electrical planners are all in one spot.
Yeah.
And so they can learn. Basically, this is how it's done. The guy involved wasn't involved in the design, but he's involved in operating.
Yeah.
So now he needs to know what was done, how it was done, and why.
Yeah. I'm always curious with this type of setup with the modular. Is this an engineering firm that provides the spec to Gekko, or does the customer come to Gekko and say, this is what we have in the ground, this is what we need to produce, this is how much tonnage we need to produce per day? What system are you going to give us? Or is it a combination of both?
It's a combination of both. We can go right from basically, we have the ore, let's do the test work and prove up, do the engineering study internally. We're not trying to compete with engineering houses by no means. But when they come to us, they we want you to supply a plant to us. We go through the whole process. We'd also just supply pieces of the equipment that's there too.
Yeah.
And so if a company wants, well, here's our plant, but we want a inline pressure jig or inline leach reactor, and we can work with engineering house and put those in the flow sheet and basically in the plant.
Yeah.
So it depends on the application. The most common way is basically going through an engineering house, and we work with all the engineering houses quite closely.
Yeah.
But it depends on what the customer wants. A small plant, we can go away from them. The word Gekko. We've had plants where we actually will do the test work. And that test work will go to a 43101 study, and then be designed by an engineering house that basically works with us. So it's there's no specific set way that has to be done.
Right.
It's whatever the customer feels better, and a lot of times they can look at their investors and basically, what the investor feel comfortable with. Would it be an engineering house that's or through Gekko? And it just depends on what they work with, and we're very flexible and can work with many ways. Most of our business is through working with greenfields projects, or basically supplying parts, equipment,
Yeah.
the plant, and the other part is the larger projects when they come to us and say, hey, we're looking at a full plant here.
Right, but you're doing both. I want to get into that too, because you're these partnerships, it's something that always sort of fascinates me, and I think it's a part of bias because our show, everything we do, is almost purely partnership based, because people need to be willing to come in, they need to be willing to sponsor and do specials, and so everything we do is a partnership based. So when I see a company, I'm looking at this picture, and the partnership that needs to go in, you're collaborating with the crushing company and the ball mill supplier, and sometimes those are the same and all that. So what I wanted to kind of separate out, what is, well, first go into the partnership element of what parts and pieces are being supplied by other suppliers that you're partnering with, and then I want to get into what Gekko is actually making themselves.
Yeah, no, we definitely, with Gekko, it works a lot on like the coarse gravity, the fine gravity. We do the inline pressure jigs, the spinners, the intensive leaching, which shows on there, everything yellow as we supply.
Right.
But then in terms of the crushing plants, we're not an expert. We know what we're doing there. We have a very strong team. But our guys will design it and then basically go to, like, this was designed by Metso. The
Metso,
crushers.
yeah.
So go to Metso and say, hey, this is our design. They confirm it, and we'll work with them on supply.
Yeah.
Mm.
The ball mills, they were done by Autotech. The flotation cells by Autotech. The filters by Autotech. And so we work with different suppliers. And the good thing about doing that is if you go to one company and they say we're the experts in everything, that doesn't exist.
Yeah, we haven't had one of those on our
No.
show yet.
So basically, we're an expert in our technology.
Right.
So we involve other experts and basically make a partnership of that.
Right.
And so we're willing to work with anybody that basically we can put a package together, and the customer wants this, so we will talk to. We've worked with FL Schmidt. We've worked with Autotech, Metso, and basically in terms of bringing in their expertise
Yeah.
for where they're experts at and combine a plant.
Yeah.
And that's collaboration, and it's important that we, to a customer, I come from operational background,
Yeah.
is that you have the experts in there for the areas. If you've got some guys that just, we can
piece it together.
piece together. Down the line, if a guy's got questions or basically needs to understand more or feel comfortable this is going to work,
Yeah.
you want the experts involved.
Right.
Our guys are good. There's no question about that. Technically, we're very strong. But let's bring an expert in for this region. We actually just signed a partnership with a company just recently that basically supplies the whole elution part of a gold plant. And they're known as one of the best. So we get a partnership with them now. We do collaboration there as well.
And they're doing the which, sorry?
The elution. So in the gold plant, after you, for the cyanide and carbon, once you collect all the gold, you leach the gold,
Yeah.
and on carbon strip and load it with carbon and then strip it.
Yeah.
The stripping plant is the elution part
Mm.
and the reactivation of carbon, and that's a specialty.
Right.
You have to know what you're doing there. We understand the plant, but we got a company that's a specialist, and we just signed an agreement this week with them to be partnership.
Right.
And so we're bringing an expert in that knows it hands down and can supply a really good high-level plant
Yeah.
with us.
Do you find, and I don't know if you're on you're in part of or part of that whole system, but do you find these companies, the collaboration is usually pretty smooth, or is there a lot of like hoops and jumps to try to make everybody sort of get on the same page when you've got 4 or 5 and the companies you
Yeah.
mentioned? I mean, these are major equipment suppliers. They're powerhouses in the mining industry. Is it pretty collaborative, or is there do you sort of have to plan out every sort of communication step?
It is collaborative. Mining overall is collaborative. It's the only business I know of where you're friends with your competitors. And you're good mates, and so you go to hang out sort of stuff. But in terms of business-wise, yeah, we're competitors, but we're all smart enough to know that no one company's going to basically take over everything.
Yeah.
You have to work together. And so a lot of us will work together. I'm working on a project in Guatemala, and we're doing a partnership with a larger supplier. So it's basically how you work together. The big thing is there's a couple, with one we work together very closely because our culture is very similar.
Right.
And that's good, is to understand. So when questions come, you understand how to work together. But overall, mining, I find, is doing that. All the larger suppliers, smaller suppliers. Yeah, there's always hiccups,
Yeah.
and there can be some disagreements on some parts, but we're all trying to supply a process to the end user that's going to work.
Right.
And if it's a partnership or individual, you have to work with collaborators to make that work.
Yeah. It never ceases to fascinate me. It's kind of like a pet topic of mine. I just even when you drive down the street and you see a building going up, and especially from doing, we had Xylem on the show, right? So they're coming in and they're bringing all their pumps in. They're pumping all the water. So then you've got, and the buildings, all the contractors that come in to put these buildings up, and mines are at a whole other level. It sort of amazes me how all these companies that specialize end up with this end result, and the end result being this tiny little piece of gold. It's sort of just this unbelievable thing.
Well, it is. When I went to operations, I always taught my guys, in the operations, we know stuff. But that piece of equipment, you talk to the supplier, they're the experts. Work with them, understand. Yeah. And that's something that's still, it's out there, but it's not getting out there as much as it should. Is you should always be talking to your suppliers. They're the experts. Listen to them.
Yeah.
And basically learn from them and basically develop the process. Because the one phrase that's been around for a long time, continuous innovation.
Yeah.
And the plant's always continuously improving. Like the ore is changing, or they see we got something new. How do we improve this process? How do we get more efficient, make more money, sort of stuff? And that's what part of the process is. So the people that know that is your suppliers.
Yeah.
And you talk to the experts of certain areas, and that's where you develop a much more efficient mine.
Mm-hmm. I want to get into, there's a whole other half. I want to talk a little bit. Let's do the sponsorship now, and then let's kick off into the second half of the show.
Perfect. As I try to keep
How
my
you doing?
voice. I'm good. I can do this. All right. So we also are brought to you by Data Cloud. Does it feel like you're drilling and blasting blind? Could your MWD measurements be better? The Data Cloud platform shows your lithology changes in real time for better blasting and fragmentation profiles. Check out their IoT sensors and cloud computing platform at datacloud.com and learn how you can know your rock today. Also brought to you by Streamline. They offer a complete package of fleet management solutions with 3 incredible products. NaviStream, their onboard intelligence and telematics system. NaviLink, their vehicle automation and IoT platform. And Dagama, their dynamic transportation management system. And you can visit them at stti.com for the Streamline Advantage. Perfect. So I wanted to kind of get into your background a little more. Clearly, you have a lot of knowledge and you've been in the industry for a very long time. I was looking through your LinkedIn profile, and it was just a list, and then a list. I was like, wow, that's never ending, because you've been in the industry for a very long time. But how did you start?
Basically started in high school in a way. It was a bit different. When I was in high school, there was a program started by BCIT called Resource Tech. So half the year, and Kamloops was one of the first groups to start this. And there was 20 students, and half the year in school, half the year doing forestry-related projects. And so we basically got involved in business. So as a high school student in grade 11, I was skidding and bucking and just all the forestry and stuff in there. Then I came to look at, okay, where's my future coming up after high school? And I looked at BCIT, obviously, because that's where the course came from. But back then, there was only about 10% of the graduates in forestry were getting jobs. I was like, well, what else is there? We resource-based. So I looked at mining, metallurgy. And that's where I joined the chemical sciences group at BCIT. And that's where you did physical metallurgy, extractive metallurgy, which I went into, pulp, paper, pollution control. I was focused a lot on pulp and paper because that's the forestry part. Mm-hmm. And I really got interested in the extractive metallurgy. It's just, this is interesting. It's ever changing, ever developing. And I want to get involved in that. So I focus on that instead of pulp and paper. And that's where I started BCIT. And then from there, I started working in a lab in North Vancouver. When I graduated a few years ago, and back in '84, there wasn't a whole lot of mining business going on. It slowed down. And so I went to a lab in North Van for about 4 years. And then I got offered a job at a mine site in Yukon. And I did assay, I ran the assay lab there, plus I ran the met lab there. And got involved in from there and basically went from gold to lead zinc, and then basically to copper zinc, and just sort of different sites. I worked a lot in Yukon territories, Manitoba, BC, Nunavut, and just basically developed up to different positions. I never went to further education. I've expanded my knowledge through a lot for the CIM, but excuse me. But I basically went to different promotions, different sites, up to from a technician to a metallurgist. My last job in operations was the mill super of Kemess Mine. And it just basically it was ever learning. When I went to one mine called under Kamenko, Polaris Mine, I met some guys down in Tech. I went to school with the BCIT, and they were still technicians. He goes, how'd you get promoted to being a metallurgist? I like learning more stuff and get involved. So that's where my background is there. And then I went to consulting for 3 years. And I was just too busy. I'm known as a troubleshooter. And then I got a chance to open an office in Vancouver here for Extrata Technology. And we got changed a bit at the end there when it got taken over by Glencore. And I got working with Gekko just after that. And been there for 3.5 years now. And it's fun because they're innovative. They're the same way. They want to learn more. Like, how do we change this and change it? So this that we have. Just focus on this. Let's expand out. So that's been my background there. So I spent about almost 30 years, 24 years in operations.
Wow.
And we've only done 35 episodes.
I know. We have a long way to go.
And we opened talking like, oh, we got a few done.
I like how you talk a lot about innovation, and currently there's just so much new technology coming into the market. With the amount of years you've been in the industry, how has that evolved?
Well, you look at it, like the old Fairmont mine when I was first there, everything was manual. Like the pH control, reagents, everything was manually checked. Now automation is coming in. Like how do we improve the operation? And the automation, the data collection, the data analysis is a big part. There's still parts, like you look at the gold circuit, the CIL circuit, it's a black box. Again, numbers, it's all manual controlled. They get numbers once a shift, once a day from what happened, not what's happening.
Yeah.
And so part of technology is basically how do you open it up so it's more, you're active upon, I guess, recent data, like what the data is actually happening now. You're making changes based upon that. And I see that's becoming more and more what Gekko's focus on. Mm-hmm. And that's where I see the mining is being focused on. There's like the area Brent was talking about, ore sorting, pre-concentration. There's a lot of stuff up there that you can make it much more efficient
Mm-hmm.
in a plant, but also your data collection and controls. It's automating your plant, so it's actually thinking what it's doing, not just basically
Yeah.
operating. The operators, you learn from the operators. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's where it's coming. It's being more automation, more efficient, control where things are.
Yeah.
And there's so much out there. People, every company's focused on innovation, and how do you improve the process, make it more easier to use, and that's the way we're moving in the future. Yes.
Yeah. Do you find it challenging trying to implement some of this technology in such a conservative industry?
Yeah. In Canada, we're in it's an old saying I heard a few years ago. We're in a race to become second. Everyone wants new technology, but they don't want to be the first one to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's getting those people to make the first step, and that's the biggest thing. And so it's getting them past that, making it shows a benefit to them,
Mm-hmm.
and that's in Canada we're known for that. I heard at a conference in Vancouver about 5 years ago, and yeah, it's good. People are innovative. We're starting to see more. That's where the mining is changing now. We're starting to see more companies interested in being the first to do it.
Mm.
We have technology that we're the first ones in the world to get it going, and it's on a gold analyzer, and we're getting people coming out. Yeah, I want to be first. I want to be first. We're still getting people say no. You have to prove it first to me, but we're getting a lot of different focus where people want to be the first in line to do something now. We're starting to see that now, and in the past, that's always been the biggest challenge.
Do you think? You said about Canada. Do you think that do you notice it's actually different in the Canadian market? I mean, I know that the sort of these sayings get put out there, and it sort of encapsulates a whole sort of area. But is it actually different if you go into Australia or New Zealand or in Africa or wherever it is? Is it just a more willingness to take that? I mean, probably the U.S. I mean, they're probably known the most for being trying the new thing, even just small little businesses and all that sort of thing. But do you notice a difference in the Canadian mining culture as opposed to the global culture?
Oh, yeah, like around the world, I see a lot. Even that you have a new technology, say we go going in Chile, and they want to know where in Chile is it operating. Well, it's not. Okay, but we're doing the same thing in Peru. Well, that's a different location. But we see that. But we see like in Australia, they're innovative. They're ready to jump on the bandwagon and get things going now.
Mm.
And some countries are very innovative. They're progressing all the time. Some countries aren't. Went for a long time. There's nothing new brought up in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're starting to see that change, which is good.
Yeah.
But it's everywhere you go is a bit different. They're open to more change because maybe you haven't got a skill set, and another country's going to come with a skill set to
Right.
here's something new for you.
Yeah.
I've had plants that saying like, we don't want any process control. Okay, nowadays, yeah, well, our guys haven't got a skill set to run it.
Right.
We want everything manual, but it's getting them to change into process control and realize it's not hard to operate.
Yeah.
But it's getting people across those boundaries, understanding where the benefits are on them.
Yeah.
Not trying to sell this. Look, my technology is great.
Yeah.
But what does it do for you?
Yeah.
What do you need? What's your challenges, and how do you solve your challenges?
Yeah. Is it, it's funny, I've actually never asked this question because we've always sort of just breezed by it. And how challenging is it though for this plant that I'm sure there's a lot of automation in this plant, the one that you brought up, and in these modular systems, especially you're piecing them together. So I'm sure that the automation is sort of the best it can be for that type of system. How tough is it if you've worked in the industry for 35, 40 years, you're used to the manual systems, you can kind of go to any mine with a manual system and fit in with their system good, to then show up at one of these world-class modular, automated systems. There is no black boxes. It's all. How difficult is it to train somebody to do that? Have you sort of had a first-hand seat to that?
Well, it is when we first went from being on manual to being in process control. You had a process control you could shut off and run manually.
Right.
And so a person's coming from that business. Nowadays, when you run a plant like this, you can't run a manual. So there's no, okay, the system's shut down. Okay, we'll do this way. No, it doesn't work that way anymore. So it's learning that it's going to be run off the computers, off the process control, understanding what it does. You still have to understand the hands-on. A good friend of mine when he was in the plant, within about half an hour, his hands are all covered in froth, and he's got, mud all over him because his hands in there and checking what's happening in the process. So there's still that part you have to understand. You look at, say, flotation, look at the froth, what's going on, feel the froth. But now there's more stuff coming out with like the cameras, understanding what the froth does.
Right.
It's still important for any operator to understand how to control a circuit, or understand what it's doing without the process control. But yeah, for a person that's used to hands-on going to process control, that could be challenging, but it could be very easy because, and I understand what this is doing here. How does this work?
Right.
Okay, this isn't doing what it should be doing. And they can optimize it that way. So it could be a challenge for some people. Other people, I think most people look at, this is easier now, and
Right.
and they can actually help improve the process because they know how it's supposed to operate manually.
So it's not really a case where in some industries it removes the need for people, but in this case it's not even the need for people. That's actually not what I mean. It completely, their skill set is then basically removed. The need, and you need to replace that person with someone who has that skill set. But you're saying with this stuff, with like the controls, it can be trained with someone who's been in the industry without that, with just manual.
Well, it can be. You see a lot of companies now are starting to go, we have a process control room. Our operators are based in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Multiple sites. So how's that work? Because when you're in a mill and you're sitting there and you're used to the noise in the background, the SAG mills, the ball mills, what's running. And as soon as the tone changes, you go, something's happened.
Mm-hmm.
If you're sitting in Vancouver, control room, you can't hear that.
Yeah.
So you just still need a combination of both, yes. You still need to be able to identify more stuff that the computers can see.
Yeah.
So there is still use for computers. It'll streamline our manpower required. You don't need as many operators, more is done by computers, by process control. But you still need operators on the floor to run it, and basically probably identify what's going on, because the process control does that, but understand the whole process, how it's improving. And it's always changing.
Yeah.
Different ore comes in, I'd identify that. The process control can tell you now.
Yeah.
But to have an operator seen it makes a big difference.
Right. I want to go into a little bit more about the innovation, because you said to me when we were first talking, Gekko isn't they're certainly not the smallest, but they're also not the largest company on the block either.
No.
And one of the strategies, because they really do want to be innovative, one of the strategies is to partner with universities, which right away when we were on the phone, I said, well, I want to talk about that. Because a big topic, another big thing that we have when coming in specifically to the mining industry is, Royce Lack has talked about it, multiple other guests talked about wanting to get young people more involved, and not just involved in a sense of, there's a job opportunity, so I'll put in my application, get the job, but genuinely interested in the industry, because I think that makes such a big difference. You offer someone $100,000 a year, sure, they'll take the job, but that passion for the industry. And so I really want to have a good understanding of what Gekko is doing in partnership with the universities to, one, engage the university students, but also drive the company forward in an innovative way. I think that's just a fascinating thing. So what's sort of the programs that they have in place?
Well, so the programs, we are a fairly small company, so we haven't got a big research division. And so we're looking at, how do we improve our technology? How do we learn more? And that's by collaboration. It's universities or in groups like Amira, CSIRO, CIM, is basically what's out there. So big part of it, and one example, our Carbon Scout. It was actually developed by Curtin University.
Mm.
And a lot of technology development, and people say, well, yeah, I'll develop something, and away you go. From idea to actually concept is quite a few years out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we work with the universities basically to support the universities and basically collaborate with them, basically talk about what's out there, what do we need to know. And these young minds are amazing. They think of stuff that we haven't thought about, where things are. And you get some people like Professor Bill Staunton. He's been around for a long time. He's probably seen more gold plants than anybody in the world. And so his focus is to get this Carbon Scout developed at Curtin University. So on that, he brought his students in, obviously, to get involved and develop it and go through the process. And in doing that, Gekko gets involved, and basically we support that. And now the Carbon Scout's on the market, and we're the only company basically that work with it. We're work with the university. But it's important. Yeah. Basically, the universities, they get the interest in mining. You look at UBC, they do a lot here as well.
Yeah.
But the classes, go up and down, depends on the market. If you get the interest in the students, they'll continue to develop. You always go through parts where, okay, well, very few students come out this year, so we're at a dead zone for new people. You look at mining, for the longest part, there's a group of us up here with 23 years experience, a group here with 2 or 3 years experience.
Mm-hmm.
This gap developed.
Yeah.
So part of the university is doing that, is keeping that gap. We fill that gap up and keep the interest involved.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. Like some of the ideas they have and the way they work together. We do this, like Sarah does a lot of studies. It involves universities, and through that we've developed on a gold analyzer through them. And that's sort of it's utilizing those skill sets, get them interested in mining, and show them what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Apply their mind to it. What's going on in mining, what's being innovative, and for those young students to be involved in innovating a new technology.
Mm-hmm.
Their interest is there. Now that they want to be involved in mining, they want to keep on top of mining.
Yeah. So in this case, are they coming with does Gekko come to the professor with something that they want to innovate, or is the professor working with students and saying, we're going to innovate, let's come up with an idea, let's look at this part, or how is that, like, how does the direction that they're looking or the thing that they're hoping to develop, how does it even start?
Well, lots of ideas they look at, like Bill Staunton, without Gekko's help, looked at the carbon scale and said, we have a black box. It's all run manually. How do we make it more efficient, make it automated? And so that's where he got involved. And then our group down in Australia are very much involved, all the universities and the mining groups. And so they got talking. Basically, that's how we got involved in the Carbon Scout and utilizing our knowledge, because our big focus was on gold. We do a lot more than that now. And in terms of work with Bill, he got us involved in basically understand the plant and basically the market out there. So we support the universities and get involved in the projects in early stages. Most of it's, with basically we'll talk to the university about what we want, looking at. But quite often they've got ideas already, and it's been worked on for years.
Yeah.
And they're looking for people to support them, work with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Gekko comes in. And this is a great idea. Let's work on it.
Yeah.
And that's how we get involved in a lot. So it's more a combination of them coming with ideas and us working with them to develop them.
Yeah.
But there are some ideas that come through Gekko as well.
How going to the history of Gekko, they've again not the biggest company, but they've been around, I think, 30 years.
23 years.
23 years. And where did it all sort of start? They're a family. Is it a husband and wife?
Husband and wife, Sandy and Elizabeth Gray, Lewis Gray. Sandy has been involved in mining long before Gekko. He was an alluvial gold miner.
Alluvial gold miner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And big thing in alluvial gold mining there is jigs.
Yeah.
And he noticed that a lot of in the jigs, because they're open top jigs, the fine gold's getting missed. Because it's surface tension and it's just floating off and going to tails. And so he developed an iron pressure jig himself. He had some ideas how to improve it. the industry wasn't listening to him, so he developed his own
Mm.
jig. Very innovative. He's got a mind. He just never stops thinking. He's fun to work with, and that's where it started. And then his wife Elizabeth, very business sensitive, involved in a lot of different groups. Nothing to do with Gekko directly, but mining overall and business wise. She got working with the different groups and got some funding, and that's how they started the company called Gekko Systems.
Mm.
And so it's using Sandy's technical background, and then using Elizabeth for business. It's done a really big job for us there.
Yeah.
And we continue to always adding more and more technologies to it.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth's got a lot of work to do basically to keep us up to date in terms of business wise.
Right.
Because a lot of that is basically the technologies keep changing.
Yeah.
And it's easy to develop, let's develop this, let's try this, but it's how do you develop it? Is it the time wise on it? So it's been fun that way. We're always continuously changing things and developing. Where else can we be involved in mining? What else can we do? What else needs to be worked upon?
Yeah. Does they still skew a little bit towards the alluvial mining, or are they doing hard rock processing? And are they doing everything now?
We do a lot of processing. Now there's a picture of one plant there that basically shows we call the Python plant.
Hmm.
And with the idea behind that is basically it's actually a plant designed to work underground.
Oh, do you have a picture of that?
Yes,
there?
I do.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's a service plant, and then one picture there, but it shows.
Gary had to step away for some technical.
Perfect timing.
It happens on the unedited
The
format.
one top right there.
Top right. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a service plant, and basically we call it Python because it's one long string. It all can be
Yeah,
one long
that's sort
string.
of a different setup.
And so everything can be. They say if you're in a mine, you're trying to high grade. Like we did some work with one that they're a kilometer and a half deep. So the grade of metal is getting low enough that now they can't. It's not economical.
Mm.
So with this here, you can pre-concentrate it, and all you send above ground is the concentrates, and even the tail stays underground. So this design is so it actually works underground, and you can basically do it completely remotely. And the tails go back underground for backfill, and then you see in the bottom right there's a tank where there's the water recovery.
Yeah.
So most of the water is recovered back in the system. That goes right from your crushing to your screening, your gravity jigs, your flotation, everything's involved in that.
Mm.
And that's called the Python plant. And that's based upon hard rock mining. It can be used in gold, you use them in base metals.
Right.
So that's a lot where most of our focus is hard rock mining now.
Yeah.
We still do alluvials, but we still a lot of stuff is hard rock.
Do you have a sense of what percentage of the company is doing? Because you do sell off pieces of equipment. Of course, if someone else is doing a plant, they need some of what the equipment that you offer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a sense of sort of what percentage is like plant based? You're putting together the plant, or you're selling the individual? Is it pretty even?
No, most of our business is more individual sales.
Individual, yeah.
Go along. And basically, that's where we develop new technologies like the Carbon Scout, the Olga. We call it online gold analyzer. Short Olga is short for that.
Okay.
So what's a better name? Well, who's going to forget Olga?
Yeah.
So, so that's what I got about, which was that's good. So that's continuous base. Keep your base cover your costs.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger plants come every couple of years. Where
Right.
We need to supply smaller plants as you go along, but the bigger plants are not consistent enough for normal business.
Right.
So you basically run a business, basically cover your costs,
Yeah.
and then basically from that, the bigger plants to come in, we work on those. They take a while to develop more,
Yeah.
and they take a while basically once you get the order to build and get them going. And so if you just base it upon that, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. Are you selling? Is it global? Are you selling all over the world? Is there the areas that you're the strongest in?
We're very strong in the world. We got office in Perth, in Ballarat, Australia. I was in Vancouver.
Yeah.
We got agents in South America. We got an office in Johannesburg, an office in Moscow. And we have agents between there, basically, for different parts of Africa and that
Right.
we work with. So we are international-wise. We're starting to see Russia pick up quite a bit now.
Yeah.
One of our biggest areas has always been Africa. A lot of business down there. That's been one of the bigger points for us in the past.
Yeah.
So it is worldwide, and some places will slow down, other places will pick up. If you're talking about global slowdown, sometimes you see the whole world slow down, but it's usually this area slows
Yeah.
down, and so it goes back and forth.
It's going to be very interesting for Africa. I think it's not just me. There's a lot of people watching it. It's sort of has nowhere to go but up, because there's still so much opportunity there. It's going to be interesting to see sort of where it lands, 20, 30 years from now, because I mean, mineral wise, it's endless the amount of wealth that's over there. Um, but infrastructure wise and those types of things, there's still a challenge there. So I'm always very interested to see where we're going to end up with that.
It's very true. You look at a lot of companies that are based in mines in Africa are based in Canada.
Yeah.
And so, like B2 Gold, they got office in Vancouver, and most of our operations are in Africa.
Yeah.
And so, they bring in the Western world, basically the technology, the skills, the way they operate into Africa.
Yeah.
Africa's got a lot of skills right now too, but always continues to advance. And when I've done some work in Africa for extracted technology, and I was impressed of how automated their plants are, how clean they are, they're very well done. And if you're sitting outside Africa, you understand. It's everything slapped together. That's so. Actually, they're very well, very
Well,
technology
again, it's that
advanced.
media thing. It seems like there's most of the plants that I've seen like pop up from media in Africa. They look about like the worst plant you can put together. Like they purposely did it bad.
Yeah.
But they do a lot of good there. We have an office there,
Yeah.
and they're very busy and basically working in all Africa. We're based in Joburg, and there's lots going on there. I'm working with a project with B2 Gold in Africa. There's different things, different offices. We have our offices in certain areas, but we have to work together as a global company because this office may have an office in Perth, but they're doing work in South America,
Yeah.
or vice versa. So it's us working together as a team. We're a small team. We're very dynamic, and it's working as a group. Basically, that makes it work for
Yeah.
us. I was on the phone a project today with two guys in Ballarat. It's midnight their time. We're talking my time, and it's just
Yeah.
always goes on. So there's lots of stuff. Worldwide, there's lots to go on, lots to improve upon.
Have you seen? Because you said you worked. Sorry, what was the last company that you said?
Maybe before that was extracted technology.
Yeah. So you were working in Africa before with them as well. Have you seen sort of what have you seen shift? We talked a little bit in Gowdy's section about the shift in mining here. Have you seen a shift in the last 7 to 10 years over in that part of the world as well?
Yeah, when I was with Australia, the biggest part of South Africa, especially, was platinum, and that sort of pushed away from platinum. Now they're doing a lot more in gold and base metals now. Platinum's still big, but you're not seeing the same focus there. Most of the guys that I work for the platinum group are in different parts of the world, different things now. So the mining is changing. They want to become more technology advanced. They want to bring more technology into there. A lot of companies now that weren't based in Africa and now have an office or based in
I
Africa.
see.
So you're starting to see that happen more.
Yeah.
There's still the political unrest can be a challenge.
Yeah.
But that happens worldwide where a country can nationalize and say, okay, now you're mine, thank you. Get out, that's where we're taking over.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it's understand how it's going to affect you.
yeah, it's funny because, and I always think about perspective because, yes, that does happen. There was a fellow I was talking to. His family had been, I can't remember the country they had moved to, and literally that they woke up one day and they didn't own the land anymore and get out.
Yeah.
So that's the way it was. His family was originally from India, and they were living in a country in Africa, and I just can't remember the country. But then I look at, just for a little perspective, in Canada, our biggest challenge is getting these projects going. I mean, we have systems in place, but those systems over the last few years really haven't been that productive. I mean, we have projects that it's, 10, 15 years for a project. I mean, that to me is just, I can't even imagine either stop it or let it go. I mean, it's just way over the top. And you've got you've got all these negotiations, and it's back and forth, and you've got 90% of the paperwork's done, but now we're going to delay it another 5 years to get that last 10% done. I find it a little bit ironic when I'll hear a conversation about, especially a different continent or country, and it's like, you should probably take care of your own
Oh yeah,
your own delays.
it's the old adage: you point your finger, there's four pointing back at
Yeah.
you. So it's understanding that too. But it's yeah. Huckleberry Mine was the first mine to be approved under. We had provincial and federal environmental rules.
Mm-hmm.
It was 24 books that we had fill out for 24 binders for one just environmental.
Yeah. Just the environmental
Just the
side.
environmental side. It was just crazy. So it's the process. I know, like CM's been pushing, trying to, how do we make it back into one now? Make it so it's going to work together, because quite often your provincial and your federal rules and regulations don't mix.
Yeah.
So you do stuff for provincial, then you got to do a whole different thing for federal.
Yeah. And then governments change and they have a different perspective on those regulations.
That's always
Whole
fun.
other
Yes.
circle.
I wanted to give a quick, before we wrap up, I wanted to give a quick plug to, you've got a conference coming up, the SAG Conference in Vancouver.
We got a SAG Conference. It's called for semi-autonomous grinding and high pressure grinding technology. It was initially started in 1989, just based upon SAG Conference, which is that's a new technology then, semi-autonomous grinding. That was expanded in all comminution. We go from crushing, segmenting, HPGR, even we're doing one on the vertical shaft impactor.
Oh, okay.
Crushing. And it's September 22nd to 26th in Vancouver, a new venue. We have fantastic support from all our suppliers. We had a trade show for fully sold out, wait list.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fantastic show, and it's technically very strong. And we modified the program a bit from the years. It happens every 4 or 5 years. And so the last one was 2015. Next one's going to be 2023. And the way Vancouver is, we've actually already booked the hotel for 2023.
Oh, wow.
We've had to. We tried it September every 4 years.
Oh, I see.
And September in 2023, back in March, I think it was already booked 2 weeks.
Wow.
Wow.
So is it what is the is it an educational,
Yep.
like there's a trade show aspect, is it kind of
Yep.
but it's not $20 a ticket, like it's
No,
sort of people in the industry that you're
It's
trying
an
to
industry. We've got people come from basically every mining country in the world is coming here.
track. Yeah.
South Africa, Russia, Australia. Everybody's coming to here for this. I'm prejudiced, obviously, but to me, it's the best combination conference in the world.
Yeah.
And basically, it talks about operations. What's new out there? What's happening technology-wise? What's happening on sites? What have they done to improve their sites? What are suppliers doing to improve the technologies? But what applications are they improving upon? We don't do sales papers. It's got to be technology-wise.
Oh, so this is a very technical, educational type piece.
Yeah, and we have some of the top combination experts in the world presenting
Right.
at the conference. Yeah, it's our tech. We have a lot of people involved in the conference. I've been involved in the executive since '96, but I have a strong group of people, mainly based in Vancouver, that have done a great job putting together all the trade show, the sponsorship, the technical.
Yeah.
But it is a technically based program where we actually have suppliers there, so they can meet their suppliers at the technologies and the trade shows.
Yeah.
And we have 5 big salons where some of the key suppliers
Right.
where we're sponsoring that and being there. We're going to have a poster session every day, and we're going to have a virtual reality in the lobby.
Oh, you are.
Yeah, we want to put a virtual reality up. I want to work with the pods there. It's at the new hotel, JW Merritt Park. It's been open for a whole 2 years now.
Oh, wow. So it's going to be
It's
going to be new and shiny and
New and shiny, but yeah, we've already exceeded out of all our past attendance records for
Really?
the conference,
Yeah.
and it's going up every day.
Yeah. That's going to be exciting. I did one of those, the virtual. We were in Orlando. I think we were in Orlando. We went to the Power Gen show, and General Electric had their virtual reality touring of a plant. It was insane.
Oh, and they came to us later in the process. Okay, well, how do we make this work? And so in the hotel. You got these big meeting pods, so you can
Yeah.
sit down and meet. Well, 4 of those, there's 5 of those. 4 of those are going to be the poster sessions,
That's so cool.
and one's going to be this
The
virtual
virtual
reality.
reality.
So you basically,
Cool.
the guys walk through and
It's really amazing. Like it's
Oh.
really amazing.
you walk through it when it's running and put your head and check it out and watch it running actually.
Yeah.
Some virtual reality, higher tech, we actually can grab pieces of the plant and pull apart and check it out. It's
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so
it's
cool.
amazing.
Yeah. Well, I hope people watching. We've got usually about 10% of people watch right to the bitter end of the show. So 10% of the people, hopefully, a few of them will show up
Oh,
for the event and check that out. So, Greg, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
My
Hope
pleasure.
you enjoyed yourself.
This is fun. Thank you.
Yeah. And we're going to just wrap up over this camera. And, yeah, that was a lot of good information, actually. Gekko is, I went on their website because I always do a little, before I
Snooping.
reach out and invite someone to come on, I always do a little bit of research on the company. And and I could tell right, I was like, well, for one, I didn't get half the products. I was like, oh, what is? I should know what that is, but I don't. I was like, okay, I just got to get them on. I'm not even going to try to figure this out.
Yeah.
So I love these companies that they have these technical capabilities that, and then to get representatives like Greg who can come on and actually provide education. And I would really encourage, and this is not just a plug for Gekko, I would really encourage viewers to go on the website and check it out because they've got very interesting products. They are an innovative company. It's very interesting. And check out SAG 2019. Those kind of technical events. I love doing our show, but there is something different when you go live to an event. You get to
Oh, yeah.
shake hands with people, network. Half the people that come in as a guest are someone we originally met, and it's just
That's right.
there's something special about just getting to shake someone's hand and meet people. So check that out and follow us, Gabby.
Yes, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all at Crownsman P. We've got the new specials that are also on our YouTube channel, and those will be coming on more often.
Yeah,
So
people
we've
like
got
those.
2 live.
We're getting
Yeah.
good. We're getting good
Yeah.
engagement on them. I'm
So
glad.
we've done 2 so far. If you're looking to do your own, please contact us, info@crownsman.com. Again, or through social media, all that.
And our Facebook group, the Crownsman
Yes.
Podcast Facebook group. That is a fun place.
Yes.
We have some funny. We want it to be an open platform, but every now and then we have to delete some of the posts because some of them are so bizarre. I don't even know what they're trying to accomplish. So I don't want to be responsible for someone getting scammed or something. So we
Yeah.
have. So if it's too ridiculous, we will delete it. But basically, it's a free for all. It's about
Yeah.
the industry. It's people who love mining. We love energy, transportation, all that sort of
Absolutely.
stuff. You can get to check out our show. It's the most relaxed part of the show. So
It really is. So, and you can also listen to us on Anchor. And and I love that.
you're losing your voice. Anywhere you can find an audio podcast, we're there. I'm
Yeah,
not going to
pretty
put you
much, I
through.
know.
This is a little game I play where I see how many Gowdy can remember.
Really, honestly, I drew a blank. I couldn't even remember.
Okay, thank you for watching, everybody. We appreciate you joining the show. Yes, please subscribe and follow us. Send feedback on the show. Ask to be a guest if you have a product to promote. Come on the Crowns and Specials. We love heavy industry. We love people watching. And thank you very much. We'll see you on the next episode.